Hello everybody, thank you for joining. Welcome to Cloud for Free YouTube channel. My name is Raj. Today we are going to see about what is Docker, what is the difference between virtualization and containerization, and what's happening whenever we run a Docker command, like how to start a Docker container, and what's happening in the backend, what makes the Docker container running, and we will try to see all this topic. Of course, this video is going to be very basic basic level of video in Docker, but it's some of you may not be aware some meaningful stuff I'm going to explain today, so watch the video without skipping any point. Thank you so much. Let us get into the video. So first of all, we need a Docker environment, right, to in order to practice what we are going to do. So for that, I already shooted a video on how to set up a Docker infrastructure in AWS cloud instance. So that video, if you are not seen earlier, I will leave the link in the description. I will recommend you to go and check and try to install a Docker environment on your platform, just to get a hands-on on what we are going to do today. Okay, so let me skip my slide. Yeah, very first thing is we have to understand what is mean by containerization and what is mean by virtualization. We should not get confused between those things, right? So the physical resources, right? So if you are trying to share your physical resources like CPU, memory and disk, that is considered as a virtualization. If you are trying to share your OS level resources, for example like kernel, your libraries, your execution init files, so those are all considered as a containerization. If you talk about very clearly, so virtualizing your physical resource is nothing but your VMware, virtualization, and virtualizing your kernel or operating system, that is nothing but a containerization. So we got us some clear idea now. So what is meant by containerization, right? So if you talk about what is meant by Docker now, Docker is a software, it's a distributed software which will provide your containerized a platform to run a containerization, right? So Docker engine is it's a platform or a distributed software which will help you to run your containerized application. Similarly, in other hand, for example, if you talk about KVM, is a Linux based virtualization software where it will provide a it's allowing you to run your virtual machine, right, in KVM based hypervisor. So that's the thing. Containerization is nothing but just virtualizing your operating system. Similarly, Docker is a software, it's a distributed software which will allow you to allow your containerized application to run over there. That's it. Let us check the status of Docker engine. Yeah, it is running, it's a good sign. And let me clear the screen and I will run some basic command like how to list the list of Docker container running on the system, docker space ps. So currently there is no Docker containers are running, and let us try to launch a Docker container now. So the command for that is docker space run space -it space let me use a CentOS image for the image. So I will use CentOS over here and space bash. So before that you have to know something, how the Docker containers are running, right? So Docker container will be running on based on the image what you have selected, and in order to run some Docker container, right, it requires something need to be running inside the container. For example, an application supposed to be running inside the container, then only the container will run. In this example, if you see here, I'm putting bash. So bash supposed to be running on my container. If the bash getting stopped running, then immediately my container will get stopped. You can see here. Okay, so if you see here, I am getting to my container, the new container which I spinned up here. So which means that we have successfully executed the Docker container, and our Docker container is running here, right? And also if you do a ps-ef, we know that what it does mean, right? So if you do a ps space hyphen ef, we'll get to know there are two processes are running on this particular docker container block, right? So the process PID1 is belongs to bash, and the second process is 15, and of course it will get terminated automatically. If you try again, it will give a new PID, right? So overall we understood that something is running inside the Docker container, correct? Okay, let us do something. What will happen if I get out of the container? I'm just trying to do a control D. It says exit. So let me try docker ps. Oh, Docker restart the container. Yes, that's default behavior of it. And if you see here, the Docker container got exited and 8 seconds ago, right? So if you do docker space ps space hyphen a, which means that it will list what are all the containers, the total number of container. The previous command will show only the running container. Hyphen a tag will say that what are the existing containers as well, right? So here let us try in a different way. So what is a way we have to run the container and come out of the container without killing it, right? Without getting exited from that. So as I said earlier, we want something need to be running always inside the container. That is the default behavior of Docker. That's the default behavior of container, right? So let me run the same command, and here what I'll do is I'm going to give control plus pq. Okay, so which means that I have just detached my screen. If you do ps, yeah, it says that the container is running for the last 15 seconds and the status is up for last 13 seconds. It is not exited, right? So it is still running. So that's a good sign. So we know how to run the Docker container, and we know how to come out of the Docker container without disturbing it, right? So I have said that we need something inside the Docker container to be running always. So that is what I'm trying to say, right? So how we can prove that is something always running inside the Docker container? Of course, we can see here there is a command called bash, which is always running over here. I understood, and but let me try to prove you in a different way. That's the easiest way to prove Docker needs something need to be executed always, something need to be running always, right? So let me try the same command, docker run space. Now this time I'm going to make bash to run certain command for something, okay? And whenever the command get over, it will get terminated automatically, right? So I will give -c space, I'll put it in the code, sleep 10 seconds. So we know that, right? What does it mean? So it will just run for 10 seconds. As soon as the 10 seconds is over, it will get terminated, right? Correct. So let me run this. Okay, it's getting executed. Oh, it's taking time. Okay, so now if you do docker space ps, okay, oh, it's waited for 10 seconds and came out of the loop, right? Okay, so let me try in a different way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach the screen on level, right, on the fly. So if you give -d, so whenever it run the command, I mean whenever it run the Docker container, immediately it will just come out of the container. It will immediately detach the container. Okay, so I have just run the container. I will give quickly docker space ps. Yes, it says that there is a command for 10 seconds it was executing, and the status is 1 second. Oh, it terminated now because the 10 seconds is over, right? Okay, let me try in a different way. I will put 20 seconds so that at least we'll know. You see, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Now we can trap it properly. So what I'm trying to say here in this example is, in order to run a Docker container, container need some process need to be running always in order to run the container without getting terminated, right? That's it. So if you see here, so now the container is terminated. This is what I'm trying to say. So in order to in order to make the container running, we want something need to be run on inside the container. That's it. That's Docker. That's a Docker default behavior. Okay guys, so we know what is meant by Docker, and we know what is meant by difference between virtualization and the containerization, and how to run the Docker image, I mean Docker container, and how to detach the Docker container. And we know that how to what need Docker container to be running always, right? So we have covered these many topics today, and then please support us by subscribing to our channel, and I will come up with some interesting topic in Docker tomorrow. Thank you so much.